And today we're going to take a look at the curious case of Legacy Nel and why this mold is probably the correct mold to use for him. Stick around, Nacelle. Everything to do with him. That's going to be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot True review. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And this is Nacelle. He's been a bit controversial. A lot of people have said that he should have used the Earthrise Thrust mold, and I get it, but there's an argument, a logical argument, for why this mold was used for this character. Actually, there's a few reasons why this mold was used for this character. I personally prefer it. I'm glad that they did this because this is, in terms of functionality, wildly the more functional, successful mold between the Siege and the Earthrise, in my opinion. And I have, again, a lot of reasons for that, not the least of which is a lack of hollowness and way better articulation. But I digress. How about we dive into everything to do with the curious case of Nacelle and head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. Oh, Transformers fans, we can be a fickle bunch sometimes, especially when we're not quite paying attention, because this is actually quite accurate for the look they're going for this iteration of the Decepticon Seeker, Nacelle, who isn't a Decepticon yet. We're going to talk about why the Siege Seeker mold is used and not this mold in a minute. But before we do that, let's look at the packaging first, because that actually tells us part of the story. And here we have a nice box. This is like the Amazon exclusive, if I'm not mistaken, version of Nacelle, which should be noted is like that capsule is a pre-war like IDW version of a lot of these characters, which is important to note. Pre-war, remember that, which means they haven't been to Earth, don't have Earth mode yet. This is all on Cybertron, which is part of the reason why he has this Tetrajet body. Let's keep going. Here we have Nacelle on the front, looking very Nacelle-y, what with his red, white, and blue color scheme. Over here we just have some more like continuation of the art, same up top, just continuation of the art folded up. Over here, our typical artwork for the Legacy line, actually a little bit more than half of it, about 3/4 of that typical artwork. And on the back, both of the modes for Nacelle. Now, I said that the box gave us a clue or two, or maybe three, to why we're using this body type. The first is the fact that this is pre-war, so he's not going to have the F-15 or modified F-15 body type that typically we know him to have. But with the box itself, maybe I should do it this way. Over here, we have an Ascenticon, I think it is, logo, which is, from my understanding, and I don't know a lot about it, like a group that was displeased on Cybertron and started to rise up and were kind of the precursor to, I think, what would eventually become Decepticons. And on this side, we have the logo of the Senate, which, again, if you know those comic books, and you know when they jump back in time, like the Senate, quite important and whatnot. Senator Shockwave, for example, right? Very pre-war. So, the box sort of confirms that this is before, you know, timeline-wise, kind of before the Nacelle that we know and love, which, in no small part, is why he has a different body type. Which indeed does lead us here. No, I'm not showing the instructions. We know how to do the transformation for the Siege Tetrajet mold. We've done it a billion times. So I'm going to end up going from this mode to robot mode. But I did want to talk about these two. Most people with the Nacelle would expect him to look like Thrust. Why? Because originally, Nacelle was a part of like the Timelines, I don't know, it was like the Collector Club or BotCon or the subscription service or something like that back in 2013, 2014, 2015, somewhere around there, where they used the Classics body of this guy, right, the Classics mold of Thrust, and they repainted him to be red, white, and blue. The original, way back in like the G2 days that didn't get released, was basically a Thundercracker body that had bits and pieces on. It was the original coloration I think that they were going to use for Thrust, and then they changed Thrust to red and black. And then that weird color scheme in the lore kind of became known as, you guessed it, Nacelle. Additionally, FunPub went back to the welcoming committee in the very first episode of Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, when Bumblebee and Wheeljack, I think, are coming through. And it looks like there's 3 members of that welcoming committee, when in fact there are 4. Right out front we have who I think is Hotlink, the purple one, right? And if you kind of look between Hotlink and Sunstorm, you'll see another laser beam kind of coming out and like a blue arm. That blue arm is apparently Nacelle. And the whole reason that he doesn't have his normal red, white, and blue, according to FunPub, is because, well, you know, he still had a Tetrajet mold then. He was part of the welcoming committee. He was a Tetrajet. His colors were different. So we kind of have the Earth mode colors on Nacelle here, because that's what everyone knows, with his More Than Meets the Eye / pre-war body type being a Tetrajet. And that's why our guy here is a Tetrajet. I did see one dude who, to his credit, and I don't know the guy's name, I'm sorry, to his credit, drilled holes in the wings, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he used glue, but I think he drilled holes. And he took the intakes that were on, I assume, the Classics, and actually put them through the holes or glued them on, so that even the Tetrajet wings here do have the intakes that the Thrust body has. Kind of creative, if you ask me. As for the name Nacelle itself, I'm pretty sure that that was kind of created during the Aligned continuity, and I think he was like one of like Starscream's commanders or something, actually. So he actually became kind of prominent, just not so much in fiction. So with Thrust out of it, we're just going to pull our boy in here. I'm going to go in a little bit closer on him. It should also be noted that if you look at the IDW 2019 continuity and the look of Nacelle in the actual comic books, it's this body type. So it's obviously coming from the comic universe, right? Like pre-war comic universe. Typical Tetrajet, we could kind of unclip the wings here if you wanted to actually have them flared up a little bit. Like if you were thinking to yourself, hey, I actually want my wings to flare up a little bit. Like, you can do it if you're so inclined. I mean, looks fine. I'll say this is the only version of this mold that I have where this side of the chest actually does tend to come off in transformation. I know a lot of people have experienced that with this mold over the years. I never have until right now. I like the interplay of the red, white, and blue, and I will even say this, the yellow is a nice touch. I did not have any of the mold, as people have called it, on my copy. For the record, and I'm going to clear that up right here, right now, tell your friends, tell other collectors, it's not mold. It is mold, as in the molding, the metal casting, the metal molding. It is mold release agent. So like when they're trying to get the plastic out of the mold, they put this in and it's supposed to release it. Typically, factories wash that off and we never ever see it. It's just part of the production process. I guess whatever factory Hasbro's decided to use has decided some cost-cutting measures are in order. We're not going to wash off the mold residue. Fans can do that themselves if they want. So fear not. You're not getting moldy plastic. You do, however, need to probably wash yours off if it's on it. And then probably wash your hands anyway, just because. That's good hygiene, right? So, we're going to go from our boy looking like this, and then we're going to give scores to our boy in robot mode. And he's going to look like... yes indeed, our boy looking like this. I will note that I have the Shattered Glass Tetrajet Starscream, and I have the Tetrajet versions of regular Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp as well. I don't have the 4-pack, like blue, what everybody said was a Thundercracker. It's not. The blue is a deeper blue. It's more like the Ion Storm, I think is his name, the Rainmaker blue, rather than the Thundercracker blue, I guess we'll call it. Just worth noting. But here we have, the Rainmakers, the Coneheads. We have Cloud Cover, who I just recently reviewed. We have Grimewing, or the Sparkless Seeker. We have the main Seeker trio. In their Earth modes, we have Sandstorm, we have Hotlink, and now, of course, we have Nacelle front and center. By the way, behind Nacelle is Transformers Prime Slipstream. She's a Seeker. I kind of like her in here as well. Let's give scores to our boy and get out of here. Okay, so for the transformation, if I've given it a 10 in the past, then this is a 9.5. If I've given it a 9.5 in the past, then this is a 9. And the only reason that's ever so slightly lower is because I have now experienced the hinge over here that likes to pop off. It's not a big deal breaker or anything, but it does happen. Otherwise, I love the transformation. And everybody says it's a shell former. I mean, not really. The arms completely collapse and fold up over each other. The entire bicep is a nice, solid bicep with no hollowness. The waist has to turn around. Even the back of the legs is spring-loaded, all for transformation purposes. So yeah, I'm going to call it a 9. In terms of the look, because I understand what they're going for here with the body type and stuff, I look at it and it's obviously Nacelle. I'm going to give that also a 9.5. I am not giving it a perfect 10 for the explicit reason that he doesn't have the intakes that are supposed to be red and quite noticeable. So I am going to knock it slightly for that. And because we do know him as the F-15, and this is, you know, a pre-war version, it's not the one we're familiar with, so a slight little knock for that, but still about a 9.5, maybe even 9.75. Then let's do the articulation very quickly. Again, we've seen this before. The head goes left, right, up, down. The whole thing's painted blue and red, by the way. The wings can move back and up and around and do it all. This can go all the way around, all the way out to the side. Super duper deep elbow. Wrist swivel. No hollowness on the bicep at all. Nice bicep swivel. A waist on this one, which the Siege does not have. Kick all the way forward. High kick forward. Siege cannot do, or not Siege, Earthrise cannot do that. Still not a whole heck of a lot back. Knee bend, well over 90 degrees, better than the Earthrise. Ankle tilt, toe, heel, forward and back. I mean, there's no pose that I cannot get with this guy. There's a nice solid heel and foot. We don't have those, tail fins on the side. That's not animation accurate. If anything, they should have folded on the back of the legs of the Earth mode. So I'm glad they're not here in this mode. The articulation does, if I didn't say it by the way, wrist swivel, which is something else the Earthrise is missing. In terms of functional robot, I gotta give it a 10. For a Voyager, I don't think there's anything else I could ask for. Overall score for this guy, still a solid 9 to 9.5. Here's what I can say. I've always enjoyed this mold better than the Earthrise. This is no different, and quite frankly, I think that this is the best Seeker mold we've ever gotten. And every single solitary time I get this mold, I feel like I've gotten my money's worth. Make of that what you will. Overall score between a 9 to a 9.5. He is an excellent addition to any Seeker lineup. And here we are once again, and here he is, and I get it. They took the Tetrajet because he's supposed to be the more than meets the eye version. He's supposed to be a pre-war, pre-Earth version. He's supposed to be, and that's supported by the box as well, because of the Senate and Ascenticon symbols on it, which were, pre-Autobot Decepticon. You'll also notice he has no Decepticon logos on him, even though he is by rights a Decepticon. He's not a Decepticon yet. I'm okay with it because the color looks like Nacelle and I think it's the better mold. So I'm quite happy with it, but I understand how other fans would really like to have the Earth version of it. I get it. I absolutely get it because that harkens back to the 2015 Deluxe. It harkens back to that original Japanese scan where he had his colors, even if he wasn't named until many years later. I'm happy here, but I get it if you're not. Let me know what you think about Nacelle. Do you think that this was the right call? Are you happy with him, or do you really wish that he had been a conehead, right? Basically. Anyway, I appreciate you coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you are at it, please hit the subscribe button, stick around. Have some fun on the channel. And especially don't forget, man, somehow, some way, each and every single solitary day, you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either into live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way, right here, inside the videos.